Good afternoon, everyone. This is Marco Garcia, and I'm going to explain this problem. So we have the given ax cubed plus x squared minus bx minus 16, and we have the divisor, which is the x squared minus 3x minus 4. So what we're trying to find here is the value of both a and b. So first, in order to find the value of a and b, we must first find the value of both of our x's. So what I did here was use the factor theorem, which is where we need to find two numbers that we can multiply to make negative 4. So in my case, to make negative 4, and when we add those two numbers, we also make negative 3. So in my case, I chose to multiply negative 4 by positive 1 so that it will result into negative 4. So in order to get negative 3, we need to also consider that, which is we need to add both the numbers, which is negative 4 and positive 1, and that will result in negative 3. That's why this is correct. So to get the value of x, we need to transpose x minus 4 so that we can get x is equals to 4. That is our first x. And our second x is equals to x equals to negative 1, and that is the value of our second x. So first, we must substitute it. So let's first use our first x in the solution here. So that means that a multiplied by 4 raised to the cube plus 4 is 4 squared minus b multiplied by 4 minus 16. So transpose that. 4 cubed is 64, 4 squared is 16, and 4 multiplied by b is 4b and 16. So we need to cancel out both 16s because this one is negative, this is positive. They cancel each other out, meaning 0. So that means that the only ones that are remaining are both negative 4b and positive 648. So we just leave it for now. Then we need to find our second term. That means we need to use this again, and we need to substitute it with our second x. So when we substitute it with our second x, we get negative 1 raised to the cube, which is negative because our exponent is an odd number. So that means negative 1 multiplied by a, negative a, plus 1 because negative 1 multiplied by negative 1 is positive 1. Then negative b times negative 1 is positive b. That's why I put it there. Then 16. So we're gonna do here is add negative 16 and positive 1. Then that will result in negative 15 because negative 16 is the higher number of the two. Then what we do is we transpose negative 15, that will make it positive. Then now we use both of our four solutions, which is 64a minus 4b times 0. Then negative a plus b equals 15. So now we need to multiply them by their each. So I'm going to first eliminate the b. So I multiply it by negative 4 and positive 1. Then this is the result. Then you need to cancel this one. Then add this one, that will become negative 68. Then 60, you just bring down, that is negative. Then when that's negative, then you divide both by negative 60 because of the fact that negative 68. So divided by negative 60 both of the sides. And that results to our value of a being 1. And now we're going to find the value of our b. So we first need to use this formula again, term. So we substitute it with the values that we already know, which is the 4 to check. So we substitute it. So we have 1. Then when you substitute it, you need to put the value of a, which is a equals to 1, meaning 1 multiplied by 64, 64 plus 16 minus 46 minus 64 plus 16 minus 4b minus 16. So we need to add the cancel 16. Then what we have left is 64 and 4b. Transpose 64, which will become negative. So negative 4b, we need to divide it both sides by 4. Negative 64 divided by 4 is 16. So now if we want to check our answer, we need to use our formula again. And we need to use our formula again. Then we need to substitute our values with our known values, which is 1. Then x, we'll use the first x, which is 4. Plus 4. Then B, what's our value of B? 16. We have 16 multiplied by 4 minus 16 is 0. So in order to make it correct, to verify that it's correct, the value of this solution must be 0. So now let's calculate. 4 cubed is 64 plus 16 minus 64 minus 16. So since we have this situation where we can cancel them both all, we can cancel negative 16 and positive 16 because when you add that it will just become 0. And you can also cancel positive 64 and negative 64 because when you add that it will become 0. So that means that this equation, this term is divisible by this term because if you substitute it with the values, it will become 0. There.
Thank you. Okay.
So the given is ax cubed plus x squared minus bx minus 16 and x squared minus 3x minus 4. So first you have to find the factor of this trinomial, which is x minus 4 and x plus 3. Then to get the first and the second x, you transpose it from negative 4 to positive 4 and positive 1 to negative 1.
Okay.
Then the next step is to take the given and substitute the first number.
The x sub 1.
The x sub 1, which is 4. So a times 4 cubed plus 4 squared minus b 4 minus 16 equals 0. Then to 64a plus 16 minus 4b minus 16 equals 0. Then you will get the equation 1, which is 64a minus 4b equals 0. Then to get the second equation, substitute x sub 2 to the given equation, which is a times negative 1 cubed plus negative 1 squared minus b times negative 1 minus 16 equals 0. To negative 1a or a, negative a plus 1 plus 1b or b minus 16 equals 0. And then you will have your equation 2, which is negative a plus b equals 15. Then to find b and a, you get the equation 1 and the equation 2 and then multiply it. So you multiply the first term from the equation 1 to equation 2 and then the equation 2 to equation 1, which is, so the equation 1 you multiply it by negative 1, which is negative 1 64 to 4b equals 0. So negative 1 times 64a is equals to negative 64a. Negative 1 minus 4b times negative 4b is positive 4b equals 0. And then 64 times negative a is negative 64a plus 64 plus b times b is 64b. Then 64 times 15 is 960. Then you subtract the two equations, you will get negative 60b equals negative 960. Then you divide both sides by negative 60 to get the answer, to get b, which is 16.
Okay, very good. B equals 16. Next, how about
to find a, you can use equation 2 or equation 1. You can choose either of those equations and then just substitute the given b. So we use equation 2, which is negative a plus b equals 15. So equation 2, negative a plus 16, which is the given b, equals 15. And then negative a equals 15. You substitute 16 to the other side to get negative 1. So since a is negative, you divide it by negative 1 and also the other side by negative 1 to get a positive answer, which is a is equals to 1.
So therefore, A
A
equals
is equals to 1 and B is equals to 16.